Hi, I'm Mike Reynolds, a senior reporter covering the media industry with S&P Global Market Intelligence, Tech, Media, and Telecom News Team. Welcome to Media Talk, a podcast hosted by S&P Global, where the news and research staff explore issues in the evolving media landscape. Today, I'm joined by Peter Olsen, President of Ad Sales at A&E Networks. A&E Networks is a global multi-platform content company with some of the most recognizable brands in the media business, notably the History Channel, A&E, Lifetime, among others. How are we doing today, Peter?
Mike, I am well, and thank you for the opportunity to chat.
Okay. Peter's going to discuss the national ad market, talk about A&E's distribution strategy in the streaming age, and of course, weigh in on everybody's favorite subject, the upfront, in which content providers look to sell linear and digital schedules to agencies and their clients ahead of the 24-25 TV season. Let's do it. A&E has evolved to a large extent over the last few years. Peter, can you talk about your portfolio and its reach capabilities?
Sure. We are now a 40-year-old company. We operate 10 linear network, which is probably what we're best known for. But we now have literally hundreds of curated individual fast channels up and running across various distribution partners. And this strategy allows us to reach nearly 2/3 of the United States population, 18 plus. So even as our linear window has seen downward pressure from cord cutting and other choices in the marketplace, our digital distribution has added an additional 30% of incremental reach. And we almost can stitch the country back together via this kind of dispersed distribution strategy and still offer very robust offerings for clients.
Given all of that, Peter, how does A&E position itself differently in the market from its competitors?
It's a good question. We definitely don't want to be seen just as a cable company. As I mentioned before, our brands have 40 plus years of equity. But right now, that cable entertainment genre is seen a little bit as a wounded thing in the marketplace. So we really want to position ourselves, especially from an ad sales standpoint, as an audience solutions unit. We produce thousands of hours of content. We have 2 in-house studios. We have international operations. So we actually are a small, truly full service media company with tremendous offerings, again, for marketers and agencies and everything in between.
A&E hasn't followed suit in terms of an aggregate streaming service, but you mentioned a preponderance of fast channels and other outlets. Why did you guys elect to go that way?
Yeah, we call it our community garden strategy instead of what some of our competitors tried to do with the old traditional walled garden. We made the decision when we launched as a company, again, going back those 40 years, to own the vast majority of our content. And that strategy has given us a huge advantage in working across all of these varied platforms that are trying to seek ways to reach audiences, more and more lean into ad tiers and grow market share. So not only the power of our library, but our continued commitment to original content has allowed us really to be a really good seller of content in the marketplace. And that brings both us and our partners additional ad opportunities.
You guys also recently realigned your ad sales team?
We did. We made a bunch of changes last fall. We realigned to make it actually a simpler way to work with us. Because what we realized, Mike, is for a long time, we're operating within, let's say, a defined cable marketplace or even a defined premium television marketplace. We are now part of this one giant ad marketplace. With clients having so much choice, we want to make working with us simpler and easier. So a lot of the realignment was around talent and simplification.
Okay. Can you give us your assessment of the overall marketplace? Maybe the last couple of years haven't been so strong nationally following the rebound from the pandemic. Are things heading in the right direction at this juncture?
I think it's clear that the marketplace has changed, and it's possibly changed for good, or we're just in a little bit of a cycle. So I would describe it as sluggish, but stable. The biggest factors that have contributed to what I think is fair to describe as a somewhat soft marketplace is the clients are more and more focusing on these narrower strategic targets and lower funnel metrics, limited what normally we would have seen post-pandemic in an improving economy, a tremendous uptick in ad budgets. And that's been pretty muted. And now you've got retail marketing and social video and more sports and more ad tiers. So a lot of supply and, like, again, a stable demand, but not a growing demand. So that's why I think you're seeing a disconnect in the supply demand equation.
As you've mentioned, there's a lot more choices, which I would assume more people may be looking to buy closer to programming's air date. Has the scatter market strengthened in Q2? Usually scatter is a pretty good harbinger for what the upfront might bear.
I would use those same words to describe the current marketplace of that kind of sluggish but stable. And I think your point's valid. For years, the state of the second quarter scatter was really an accurate predictor or harbinger of the upfront market. I think now it's a little different. We are moving more and more towards always on partnerships versus the upfront being the one place to sell 80% of your inventory. That's not what clients want anymore. They want more flexibility. And they want to commit this far out. And we're open to that. We are aligning with where we believe the demand will get released and how it will get released. Is it going to come in directly via an agency as an old-fashioned scatter negotiation, or is it going to come in more programmatically and it comes in that way? So we're open to whatever way clients want to work with us, but we are seeing a pretty big shift from the old metrics or the old paradigm that I think we were in for so many years.
Okay. Some people have talked about the upfront this year in terms of maybe it's equal to last year. Maybe it's going to be slightly up or down. Some people have talked about trifurcated. I don't even know if that's a word, but sensibilities for linear, sports, and digital in all its various forms. Is that how you view the market?
It's a good question. And I think trifurcated, whether it's a word or not, is pretty accurate. I think agency planning teams and marketers do see sports as the best place to go for mass reach. And then, of course, you've got tremendous amount of opportunities in one-to-one, digital-based, social-based marketing these days. So I think it's fair to say there is still a traditional entertainment genre, there's a sports genre, and then digital streaming, all of it lumped together.
Right.
More and more, we're trying to go to clients and say, look, if your focus is trying to reach a particular target, let's get away from the proxies. Let's focus on the audience you want to reach and the business outcomes you want to deliver. Let us focus on that. And I think if they see us more as that audience first solutions unit, it gives us a better chance to actually provide real value and kind of, again, let's break down all the old mores, day parts and stuff like that really shouldn't matter anymore. And some are evolving fast and some are evolving slow. So what you're seeing is a marketplace that's partially stuck in what we've been doing for 30, 40 years.
Right.
And some clients want to completely abandon that altogether and just do a multi-platform audience first strategy, find the audience wherever we can and deliver on something like that. So it's a pretty varied approach. And I think it creates, I call it an interesting marketplace. Maybe not quite as easy as it was 10 years ago, but it has its fun.
Maybe Mike Reynolds LLC is a little old school. Maybe his company wants to buy History or A&E or Lifetime vertically. Was he in the minority that way, or more people turning to you guys for cross-platform buys?
It's a good point. I would say more than half of our revenue now is a portfolio-based deal, but throw in the fact, like, not just that they want to buy individual networks or verticals. Now it's what currency they want to use. Do they want to still focus on just counting or impressions or GRPs, or do we want to evolve into business outcomes? So I'd say there's almost 24 different ways we guarantee things.
Okay.
So Mike Reynolds LLC has a lot of choices with us.
Okay. Could you mention business outcomes? I think A&E may be the first to have gone in that direction. Why? And is it still a staple of how you go about your business day to day and then the upfront?
Yeah, it was about 6 years ago. I think we were the first ones that said we're willing to literally do guarantees, not just tests, but guarantees on it. And the source of that confidence was, look, I've been in this industry for almost 40 years. Television has always worked. Sight, sound, and motion has always worked. But thought was, let's get away from the proxies. Let's get away from some of the narratives of cord cutting and ratings are down, et cetera, and just focus on what actually works. Can we build a client's business? So we now have guarantees on foot traffic. We have guarantees on web and app traffic. We have guarantees on attention. And we even have guarantees on literally sales results. And what encourages us about that is not only when we talk to the clients, but when we talk to the media mix modeling companies, we can see it works. Even a relatively small player like us, which we still reach about 2/3 of the country across our entire footprint, we can have an actual impact on the sales of our partners, which is terrific.
Nielsen, long the standard bearer for business transactions. It's finally going in there with the panel plus the big data. Where do you guys stand on that? Is that ready?
We believe we're going into what's clearly a multi-currency world. So we believe this upfront, we'll do guarantees on Nielsen panel. We'll do them on Nielsen big data. We're moving in the direction of Nielsen One, which is somewhere in the future. We have A&amp, we have iSpot, we have ComScore, we have EDO. We're frustrated. We don't want the industry to become like a big currency soup. That's not good for anyone. We've got to figure out a way to narrow it down. I think we have to get beyond just counting impressions and GRPs and get to something else. So most likely it's going to be a combination. Eventually, a preferred counting mechanism and other research partners and companies we can work with to get to, I'd call it better metrics. Again, closer aligned to things like outcomes. But as a relatively small player, we'll do whatever the clients want. We're prepared to do at least 3 different currencies this up front. And if you throw in the custom deals, it's more like 6 or 7. And that's the reality for now. Let's hope it gets a little clearer in the years to come.
Already. Oh, we're getting to the end here, Peter. I wanted to talk a little bit more specifically about your programming. What have been some of the top series that advertisers support on History, A&E, and Lifetime?
Sure. The Curse of Oak Island on History Channel is actually the #1 show in all of cable. It doesn't get talked about a ton because I think we're so focused these days on streamers and everything else, but that has been a phenomenal show for us for years. We have the #1 new show in cable, which is The Unexplained with Dan Aykroyd. Lifetime is still a leader in movies and holiday. A&E is a leader in true crime. Verse 48 is our leader in that space. We have biography. We have Homemade Nation. We have 6, 7 genres that are working, dozens and dozens of shows. And we have some really exciting projects coming up. Tom Hanks is going to be our executive producer and on-air narrator for what we think will be the definitive look at World War II. Barack Obama is on board with us doing a project called Higher Ground. And one more thing, Mike, we're really excited about is we are not far away from our country celebrating its 250th anniversary. And we have a really ambitious multi-year project called History 250. And clients to partner with us on custom things that matter to us. And we really want to celebrate those things that actually make this country great versus everything we hear these days about what makes our country a disaster.
Can you talk about your multi-platform content hub, Homemade Nation?
Yeah, this goes back about 6 or 7 years when we started looking at the changing in the marketplace. And we said, look, what are these genres that we believe are going to stand the test of time? And we certainly felt like home and food were 2 of them. And Homemade Nation combines essentially home-based programming and food-based programming. And we chose strategically, this was an interesting call even 5 or 6 years ago, we premiere these things on weekend mornings because what we found out from our viewers is that's actually the time of day during the week that they want to watch content like this for us. So we actually get the equivalent of primetime CPMs, primetime pricing for weekend originals. It delivers a really highly desirable audience. And we are in business with Reese Witherspoon and Rachel Ray and countless other creators. And it's a really fun, relatively new brand for us that goes across multiple linear networks and is contributing to, again, about a dozen individual curated fast channels out there. So we're really excited about Homemade Nation.
Okay. All right. Last question, the upfront. What do you think it will be overall, and how do you think it's going to work for A&E this year?
To borrow a cliched phrase, we're cautiously optimistic that we're well positioned. We just had a bunch of internal meetings this week. We deal with 500 individual clients in the upfront, dozens of agency partners. And then when you throw in our direct response and programmatic, it's literally thousands. We try to literally talk to all of them. So we feel pretty good. I think it's fair to say that this is a transformational period in our business, and this will be a transformational upfront because clients are pushing the agencies and pushing us to get away from that old paradigm of saying, I don't want to commit 80% of my money, in some cases 15 months out. So we're adjusting. I do think we're moving more towards these always on frameworks. And if we can all get aligned around what that really means, we need enough firm commitment to really allow us to still produce the content. But we also have to realize that clients want to be able to move more in real time. So if we can find that balance, I do think it sets us up for the next 15, 20 years.
Okay. That concludes this episode of Media Talk. I wanted to thank our guest, Peter Olsen, for joining us and talking a lot about the business and what the business will become. Thank you very much, Peter.
It's been a pleasure, Mike, and good luck with everything.
Thank you. This is Mike Reynolds, and thanks to all of you for listening. We'll catch up soon on the next edition of Media Talk.